Josh?
I mean, I don't like it. I don't like it, bro. I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, I know people are not going to believe me when I say this. I promise this is true. Assuming the Chiefs don't win every Super Bowl the rest of Josh's career, which is what I would like to have happen, I hope Josh wins one.
Yeah, of course.
I truly,
And Lamar?
Yeah, I'd like to see all great players get one, but it's less about Josh. It's more about Bills fans. So, like, I don't look at the Ravens as, like, tortured fan base. Okay. They had multiple championships.
Bills fans,
I feel like really deserve one, and so I really do hope at some point the Bills get one, and I don't think this is good news. I don't think asking Joe Brady, who 2.5 years ago, you had he's on your staff, you have an offensive coordinator opening, and he's not your OC, he's your quarterback's coach, and then he gets a battlefield promotion when you fire Ken Dorsey, and now he's not only your head coach, but he's also having to multitask as head coach. I don't think that's the best way forward for the team. And when they said they wanted a CEO type head coach, that's not your young offensive play call and whiz kid guy. It doesn't feel like this has been a coherent process from the firing of McDermott to this. And so it doesn't mean he won't be good at play calling. I think he's been good at play calling, but there's so much more to being an NFL head coach than calling the right offensive plays.
I love it. 16 head coaches started this season calling plays. Like, it's commonplace, including several first-year guys. Ben Johnson, Kellen Moore, Liam Cohen, Shane Steichen did it in Indy, when he was first. Like, half the league, most of the offensive head coaches also call plays. So I don't know why we would think Joe Brady can't do it when all these other guys can do it. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, Andy, it just go on and on. Dave Canales, I don't think it's the big deal you're saying. So I like it because I think the offense is going to be fine. The question is the defense. And that if they fall off, it's because they didn't get the right defensive guy. But offensively, they're going to cook.
I agree with Brew. I think it's good for now because we don't know what we don't know. We will come to know how good he is at managing the game. But to your point, all those coaches you mentioned, Kellen Moore, Ben Johnson, they even had a different task, more so difficult, because they were dealing with young guys under center, young quarterbacks. You have Josh Allen. So you call the play, once the play has been called, he has the rest. He can make the adjustments. You trust what he's going to put your team into. And as far as from a schematic standpoint, the best play, you can opt out, whatever the case may be, you trust that he has it from there. And you then can do your due diligence as being a head coach moving forward, X's and O's, how are we going to play moving forward, what are we going to do? So I don't mind it. But until we see how he manages the game, we won't fully know. Now, a lot of coaches, to your point, have handled it just fine. But those coaches you also mentioned have what I mentioned the other day. They have a former head coach on their roster.
I like that.
That is huge.
That's smart.
Like when you are a young head coach and you haven't had the responsibility of that before, it is incumbent upon you to really have somebody who can – really, you can go to their room and say, hey, what would you do? What did you do in this situation? Just to kind of pick their brain and then help you and assist you in areas where you might be deficient, not that you can't grow in those areas.
Sure. So here, I understand all that, and I get your point that it is not rare. I guess my theoretical counterpoint would be, yeah, it's not rare. And it's also one of the reasons that every year a quarter and this year a third of the league is turning over head coaches. You know what I mean? Is that a lot of teams are trying this, and a lot of teams a couple years in or 3 years in, it's like that didn't work and we're churning coaches.
However, the underlying premise of that argument is fundamentally flawed. Drawing a parallel between Joe Brady's promotion and the typical head coaching carousel is an exercise in comparing apples to oranges. Consider the trajectories of coaches like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, or Ben Johnson. Their ascensions followed a recognizable pattern. They earned their opportunity through a proven, often spectacular track record as coordinators. The same can be said for many coaches who get hired and fired in cycles. They often achieve marginal success in one place, then are tasked with resurrecting an entirely different franchise, frequently saddled with subpar quarterback situations, questionable starters, outright bad ones, or no clear answer at the position at all. Their careers are defined by navigating these highly specific and challenging circumstances. That is categorically not the scenario unfolding in Buffalo. Joe Brady has already demonstrated a tangible, successful working relationship with Josh Allen. The Bills are not gambling on a coordinator who had a nice season with, say, Kirk Cousins, and then hoping that magic translates to an entirely different, likely unproven rookie quarterback. The hypothetical, hey, you did well with Kirk, so come be our head coach for a quarterback we haven't even drafted yet, is not the reality here. Therefore, equating Brady's promotion to those conventional risk-laden hires is intellectually shaky. Furthermore, the history of established veteran coaches being hired and then fired, Pete Carroll being a prime example, proves that no hire is a guaranteed success. Thus, I find the logic that Brady will inevitably be overwhelmed by the expanded responsibilities to be unconvincing. This is precisely where it becomes crucial for the Bills to secure a defensive coordinator with significant experience, ideally, someone who has been a head coach themselves. If they can bring in a true seasoned veteran like a Steve Spagnuolo or a Vic Fangio, that would be an immense benefit. Such a hire would allow Brady to essentially delegate the entire defensive operation to a trusted authority. This structural advantage, having a head coach caliber mind running one side of the ball, has been a massive gift for teams like the Eagles, the Chiefs, and a key component of Kyle Shanahan's success with Robert Saleh in San Francisco. It is a monumental strategic edge that could very well be the deciding factor between this working brilliantly or failing spectacularly. The more I've considered this dynamic, the more I've warmed to the move. My optimism has grown tremendously upon reflection. The counter-argument seems to be, this doesn't work in many cases. My retort is, well, who are you hiring that instills absolute confidence? Pursuing the latest hot offensive coordinator like a Mike McDaniel, Cliff Kingsbury, or a Clint Kubiak would simply be following the same trendy, potentially problematic cycle. And if you let a productive offensive mind, like Joe Brady, walk out the door, you risk replicating the regrettable situations where teams like the Ravens let Mike McDonald leave, the Buccaneers let Liam Cohen depart, or the Eagles allowed Shane Steichen to go. When you have an offensive thinker who is clearly orchestrating successful and dynamic schemes, it seems unwise to automatically let him depart in the hope of finding someone vaguely better. Moreover, with Brady now possessing greater overall control of the team, his influence over the offense could become even more pronounced, from determining practice priorities to managing schedules and everything in between. Having been part of teams with large coaching staffs, I understand the dynamics. You can work far more closely with assistant coaches than with the head coach on a day-to-day basis. But let there be no confusion. The head coach is the undisputed leader. He sets the tone, he runs the operation, he is the ultimate authority. When he speaks, everyone listens. That shift in dynamic is profound. So, even though Brady has been with the Bills for years, his transition to the top job inherently creates a new, potentially more effective and improved hierarchy. This rationale makes me significantly more optimistic about the move, particularly because it involves a proven, established quarterback like Josh Allen. This isn't a Caleb Williams-type situation where the primary focus must be on patient, foundational development of a rookie. The context is completely different. I maintain that the Bills' offense remains overly centric to Josh Allen's individual heroics, with too much reliance on Superman moments. While the production has been good, the situational execution could be vastly improved. I would love to see Allen paired with a bona fide offensive coach who is renowned for simplifying the game and making everything easier for his quarterback. I continually point to coaches like Shanahan, McVay, and Liam Cohen, my core group of elite young offensive minds, who operate on another level in terms of scheme and quarterback facilitation. It is unclear if Brady will provide that same level of schematic elegance and simplification, And that is a legitimate question. Furthermore, if Brady now has more say over roster construction, that adds another critical layer. Roster decisions matter tremendously. On another offensive note, I want to present some compelling data. While this doesn't fully capture situational failures, a topic for another video, now seems a fitting time, as I prepared this analysis a while ago for a deeper dive into Allen's playoff performances. These statistics represent the Bills' offensive output across Josh Allen's 4 playoff losses. Total yards per game, 320. Completion percentage, 67%. Adjusted completion percentage, 79%. Touchdown to interception ratio, 12-2. Total touchdowns per game, 3. Passer rating, 104.2. Rushing yards per game, Allen, 61.1. These numbers are, frankly, insane. This is in his losses, specifically in 2021, 2023, 2024, and 2025, excluding anomalous games like the snowstorm. These were against teams like the Chiefs and the Broncos. The stats are absolutely bonkers. When you juxtapose them with Patrick Mahomes' statistics in his playoff losses, the contrast is staggering. Consider the comparison: Allen's losses versus Mahomes' losses. Total yards per game, 320 to 269. Completion percentage, 67% to 56%. Adjusted completion percentage, 79% to 68%. TD&T ratio, 12-2 to 6-6. Total TDs per game, 3 to 1.5. Passer rating, 104.2 to 78.35. Rushing yards per game, 61.1 to 22. Allen's raw completion percentage nearly matches Mahomes' adjusted percentage, which accounts for drops and throwaways. The disparity is breathtaking. The problem, therefore, is not extracting production from Josh Allen. The issues lie in securing critical defensive stops and executing in pivotal situational moments. One could argue that with Brady as head coach, the team might be better positioned to execute at a higher level in those moments, because he can prioritize them in preparation. The fascination deepens when you compare Allen's 4 losses to Mahomes' 7 most iconic playoff wins: Super Bowl victories, AFC Championship wins over Cincinnati, the 13 seconds game against Buffalo. I didn't cherry pick. These are Mahomes' defining victories. Total yards per game, 320, Allen to 322, Mahomes, essentially identical. Passer rating, 104.2, Allen to 107.1, Mahomes, effectively equal. Rushing yards per game, 61.1, Allen to 38, Mahomes. The conclusion is stark. Josh Allen is performing at a statistically superior level in his playoff losses than Patrick Mahomes is in his most celebrated wins. A colossal portion of this discrepancy is attributable to coaching, preparation, and supporting cast. It's about the Chiefs players, beyond Mahomes, stepping up, their defense rising to the occasion, and Andy Reid dialing up the perfect play in the final minutes. It's about Patrick Mahomes executing, supported in a way Josh Allen clearly is not. Mahomes is obviously a huge contributor to those wins. He is not being carried, but the ecosystem around him provides a support structure Buffalo has failed to replicate. You could argue that simply promoting Brady doesn't automatically solve that support problem. However, neither does solely fixing the defense. A better defensive structure puts you in a position where the offense needs to do less, but you still require the right game plan in the most critical moments. Look at the overtime drive against Denver. Regardless of earlier turnovers, the play call on a crucial 3rd down appeared to have no realistic chance of success. I struggle with that call and am wholly confident that Andy Reid, in that same situation, finds a way to get Mahomes space to run or hits Travis Kelce inexplicably open. We see it with Sean McVay and Puka Nacua on a got-to-have-it 3rd down. They design a play that works. In Buffalo's case, 2 throws on that drive went to receivers who had a combined 12 targets all season. That is simply bad football. You want Joe Brady to improve upon that. Conversely, you can look at the 2024 playoff loss and note that Brady dialed up a perfect screen to Amari Cooper, who made a mistake. If executed, it likely scores or creates a huge gain. We'd then be praising Brady's brilliant call. You can't always dial up perfection, but Reid does it with remarkable frequency. When you examine these statistics, the picture is wild. I wonder if having Brady as the offensive head coach might allow the Bills to capture more of that crucial situational excellence. he may be empowered to prioritize execution in key moments and hold Josh accountable in a way Sean McDermott perhaps could not. This could yield not just a better Josh Allen, but a better Buffalo Bills team. However, they must also absolutely nail the defensive coordinator hire. The defense has been a significant problem for years. Observe what the Chiefs did to the Ravens, or what the Ravens did to the Chiefs, defensively, in ways the Bills did not. Look at what the Eagles did to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. If Buffalo's defense had been even 75% as effective in those key games, victory would have been far more attainable. Sometimes you tip your cap to the opponent, like Bo Nix having a career game, and sometimes you must look inward and acknowledge your own failings. I find this move far more optimistic and intriguing than my initial reaction. By sharing these stats, I've undoubtedly triggered Josh Allen detractors and Mahomes loyalists, but the data paints a powerful narrative. Even if you point out moments where Allen missed a throw under pressure, that pressure often originated from a Spagnuolo-designed blitz, a product of a defense that knows exactly what to dial up to win, something Sean McDermott's units have consistently failed to counter. It will be fascinating to watch. Those are my thoughts. I'm keen to hear yours. What's your take on Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, and the Joe Brady promotion? Good news or bad? They mentioned wanting a CEO-type coach. Who is that realistically right now? Then you need to hire both a great offensive and defensive coordinator. Who has that luxury? Even if you hire a CEO like Jim Harbaugh, he had to fire his offensive coordinator and hire a Mike McDonald, and now faces replacing a Jesse Minter. That path has its own complications. The alternative logic didn't hold water for me. Let me know your perspective in the comments. I read every single one. Whether you agree or disagree, let's discuss, debate, and ultimately have some fun. If you enjoy this kind of analysis, please consider subscribing. We're building a fantastic community here, and I'd love for you to be part of it. The goal is to create something we all feel connected to and excited about. Also, a thumbs up on the video helps immensely with visibility. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.